What's up, everyone? My name is Lionel. I'm your host for LT Productions, and you are watching I Watch You Watch. Today, we are covering a returning series, The Love and the Heartless, created by Mr. Carlton T. Clay, and is currently airing on YouTube. I have all the description down or the links in my description box, so please go and support. But we will be covering Season 3, Week 1. I do appreciate everyone for coming to my channel. Please like this video. You can also subscribe and leave your comments below. Now let's get into Week 1's episodes. Okay, so The Love and Heartless, they are called it's a microdrama, meaning that we get probably 5 to maybe 10 minutes of an episode daily. So far, we are getting 3 weeks per season. We are now on Season 3. And that's how it goes. So we start off this episode with Nia and Cabral. You know, Cabral is the one, they're a part of real estate. Cabral is the one that was on the apps, and he was chasing after Jabari. Jabari found out that he was married, and that went crazy. Then the wife found out, Nia, that he was on these apps messing with guys. But she's trapped in this marriage because of the prenup that she has. Anyways, as a duo, they have won Entrepreneur of the Year award, and they are called the Queen and King of Real Estate within their region. Both of them come up to accept their award, and both of them, of course, Nia's all, wow, da-da-da-da-da. Cabral gets the mic, and he's quoting lyrics from Fabulous featuring Neo, "You Make Me Better," trying to say that concerning Nia. He ends up dipping her for a kiss. And of course, that took her by surprise. And of course, everyone in the audience is cheering it on as they are being this power couple. As soon as they get backstage after accepting an award, Nia was like, "What are you doing?" And Cabral's like, "Doing what we're supposed to be doing. We have to keep up the appearances." And she said, "Well, you went too far this time." But he went to say, that's what we do, right? As realtors. We sell fantasies. Anyways, of course, he got a rise up out of her. Well, not a rise up out of her, but basically made her stop within his tracks and said, "Smile. You never know who's watching." And then he walks off. So, obviously, she's trapped right now, and she has called on an old friend. His name is Quincy, and a lawyer. She's like, she's got to get out of this marriage. Now, I first thought that Nia had this voiceover. If you watch soap operas, back in the day, they would always be talking within their mind, and we get the voiceover as to what they're thinking. But I guess we were moving on to the next scene, or transitioning on to the next scene. But anyways, Quincy's looking through the prenup, and there's nothing really there that will allow her to get up out of this marriage without getting something, unless, bye-bye, Cabral, basically, he's got to go meet his maker. Now, Nia said, "Look, it's not like I haven't been thinking about ways to get rid of him." And Quincy said, we've known each other since pre-K. And since I know you in that way, I can't really determine if you are being real or you're just in your feelings right now. Of course, she was like, "Well, that's the privilege of client and attorney privileges." She talks about she can't believe that she was really signed this prenup, but she was young, dumb, and in love. And she did think that it was kind of weird, but about something that Cabral did. One thing she could say is that she doesn't have any type of health issues due to Cabral stepping out. She did think it was always weird that Cabral wanted to wear condoms when they were having sex. But she just thought it was because they weren't ready to have children. But he did one thing right and did not put my health at risk. So Quincy's about ready to go, and Nia's just expressing her gratitude for Quincy trying to help her. And while they're hugging, we can tell that there is some feelings that Quincy has for Nia. And he has to go and meet some friends for a basketball game. So that was the end of the first episode of Season 3. In the next episode, Quincy shows up to the basketball gym, or to the gym to play basketball. And he meets up with, guess who? Raheem. See how these folks are the small town and how everyone is just kind of intertwined and they hardly don't even know that the others exist as to even how they are attached for drama or some type of relations. Crazy. So they were supposed to have a 3 versus 3 basketball game, but one of the guys isn't able to make it because he has to be with one of his children. So they end up recruiting the guy that's at the other end of the basketball. It's not field. Court. The basketball court. And we find out that it is Kwame. Quincy, Raheem, and Kwame. Raheem asks Kwame, would you like to be on on this 3 versus 3? And Kwame says, yeah. And he says, seems like I know you from someplace. And yeah, you do. But we'll get into that later on, as we know that Raheem is Ashley's ex, who was just dating, so they weren't really in a relationship, even though Ashley just thinks that. Crazy. We're going to get into her in just a minute. Raheem says that, as Kwame saying, do I know you from somewhere? And Raheem was like, well, maybe. It's a small town. Very small. Next, we see Carrie. Now, Carrie is the one that was with Kwame when we first started this series. Ashley was the ex. Now, we get a flashback of Carrie talking with Demetria. Demetria apologizes for telling Ashley. Ashley and Demetria are friends, and Demetria and Carrie are cousins. But Kwame was messing with Ashley and then also Carrie at the same time. After Demetria apologizes, Carrie says, it's okay. It was only a matter of time before Ashley found out that she was with Kwame. But anyway, she's getting everything that she wants out of the whole deal. She's got Kwame's baby, and next she wants his money. Demetria says, so this was just a money grab? She was like, absolutely not, It's just if Kwame thinks that he going to just run off with Ashley after getting me pregnant, he's got another thing coming. And I'm going to get everything that I want to get out of him. So Demetria asks, so you knew about Ashley and Kwame? And Carrie says, I've known all along about them. So I'm trying to figure out, Carrie. Did you just slip in there when finally Ashley broke up with Kwame before? I think that's the thing that's a little bit, it hasn't been determined as of yet, or specified what was going on. How did you end up getting involved with Kwame? Because you already knew about them together. It's a little bit weird right now. However, I'm rooting for Carrie. I don't care. So somebody pops up at the door, and guess who it is? Ashley. Here we go. Episode 3. Of course, Ashley says to Carrie, I want to have a conversation with you face to face. And I need to see if you was really pregnant. Wait a minute. So, you was with Kwame. Well, cheating with Kwame. Knowing that he was with another girl. You didn't know up front, but you were just so happy that Kwame was honest with you. And now you need to see if Carrie is really pregnant. Interesting. Carrie said, it's true. I love this part. My flesh and his flesh came together in love in a lot of ecstasy to create this beautiful life inside of me. So Ashley decided to be shady. And she just said, look, you and Kwame got nothing going on, and she said, don't speak to my man unless it has something to do with whatever that's growing inside of your little body. So that's like, I'll say 2 digs. I was going to say 3 digs. But you were too busy trying to make claim on a man that was cheating on you. And then only confessed after your friend told you what was going on. At least he was honest. Bird. Just a bird. So you decided to insult the baby that's growing inside of Carrie that is also a part of your boyfriend again. And you tried to size her up like she's really nothing by calling it, saying you got a little body. Basically, look, my britches are too big for you to try to fit them into. Mm, bird. Um, so she lays down the rules. No checking up to see what he's doing because he's doing me. He was doing her while doing you. And Carrie chuckles. I love it. Carrie calls her insecure. And she says, are you sure he wants to be with you? And then Ashley says, the only thing you need to be sure of is staying away from Kwame. Carrie says, it's kind of hard with his seed growing inside of me. Are you sure he wants to stay away from me? Boom. And then she says, how you get him is how you lose him. And that's the old saying that's always remained true. And then all of a sudden, she gets all up in Carrie's face and says, he was mine to begin with. The boy is mine. Must you do the things you do? Sitting here acting like a fool. Bird. She leaves. I can't stand Ashley. So, after the basketball game is over with, we find out that Kwame, Raheem, and Quincy, they won. Kwame wants to celebrate and just inviting the guys over to his home. Quincy said that he's busy, he has some work to do. Raheem says that he's down and asks could he bring up +1. And he says, sure. I said, ooh, ooh. Now, I think it could have been extra messy, and I'm going to discuss that in the next episode. But anyways, after they get out the gym, and I think maybe Kwame's still in the gym, Ashley calls Kwame. Or maybe Kwame did. I don't know who. They connected. Ashley and Kwame connected, and Kwame wanted to know what Ashley was doing. And she said, oh, nothing, just finishing up unwanted business. Kwame says that I invited someone over for dinner. And of course, Ashley is not appreciative of that. But she gives in and just says, you better be glad I love you. So, we're about to really get into the mess now. Episode 4. Ashley's preparing for dinner. And Kwame comes in and says, something smells good. And then she says, I made your favorites. But you knew that guests were coming over before you started cooking. Did you think Kwame's going to change his mind, or in your delusion think that they canceled? What was going on? I don't know. So there's a doorbell ring, and of course that is Raheem. And he tells them, or Kwame yells like, hey, this is, you can come on in. So they both come into the door area. And of course, Raheem and Ashley recognize each other. And Raheem has a date, another woman. Now, I thought, what would have been extra messy if Raheem brought a dude. Since Ashley is just so hell-bent on hating Raheem because he actually dates dudes, why not be there to really trigger her? But she was triggered enough that Raheem was in her sight. And she decided to try to destroy what he's got going on with this new girl. Of course, since it seemed like that they were familiar with each other, they end up, Raheem said that they're old friends. Then Ashley wants to just blur it out. You know, Raheem has many friends, like Jabari. And Deanna, who is his date, asked him, well, who is Jabari? And then Raheem was like, I'll tell you later. That's messy. Then Kwame says, you know, my baby threw down as far as what about eating. Raheem decided to put his own flavor and innuendos out there because of what Ashley tried to do to him. I'm sure anything she cooked tastes delicious. And Kwame was like, what do you mean by that? Um, Raheem says that he was just playing. And Kwame's like, no, you meant something by that. So Ashley at this point has to confess. No, we were dating at one point. And then Deanna got offended. So you brought me here to make your ex jealous? And Raheem was trying to explain everything that was going on, but it was too late. And Deanna left. And then soon Raheem left. Then, guess who calls Kwame? Carrie. Of course, Ashley did not want Kwame to answer the phone. Just please hang up. He said, no, I got to check her out. Got to check to see what's going on. So he gets off the phone and Carrie needs his help. She needs to get some prenatal vitamins and her car is not working. Then Ashley let it slip, but Kwame wasn't picking up what she was putting down. Like, there's nothing wrong with her car. She was just over there. But he said, I got to be there for her. And so she goes, and of course, Ashley's upset. Oh, Karma came back and slapped you in the face real quick, didn't it, Ashley? I don't care. Anything that comes to Ashley and Kwame, I don't care. Carrie, take all his money. I don't care. Am I the problem? Anyways, Ashley is walking someplace, down a block somewhere, and talking with Kwame. Ashley's so forgiving. He must have gave her some sex. But she's a bird anyways. Now she's understanding and says, well, you had to do what you had to do. But you're going to have to make it up to me. They start flirting with each other. Meanwhile, on the other end, Jabari and Demetria are talking and coming down the street. And Demetria asks, what happened with her sister and the house that he was looking at. He said, to sum it all up, when something looks good to you, doesn't mean it's good for you. Without giving anything really away. So Ashley spots Jabari and Demetria while sitting up here flirting with Kwame and says, I'll call you back. Then she hurries over to Jabari and Demetria and says, what's up? So Ashley's upset with Demetria. Not only did your cousin sleep with my man and got pregnant by him, now you out here with my ops? And Jabari's like, ops? Delusional much? As I would too. Then Ashley gonna say, I'm about to be delusional on your ASS. This man knew nothing about you. You knew nothing about this man. And you ready to fight. Okay. Then Demetria says, is you good? Like, do you know how dumb and crazy you look and sound right now? And Jabari was this echo. Real dumb. Real crazy. And you do. Earth to Ashley, Kwame was not your man when he was with Carrie. Fact. He cheated with you while he was with Carrie. Fact. And then Jabari adds his commentary. Raheem told us both a bunch of BS about not really wanting to settle down with us, and it's our fault that we didn't listen. Take ownership and responsibility. Ashley then says, you knew this clown was sleeping with Jabari? And Demetria was like, no. When we started hanging out with each other, that's when things just started coming out, when we started talking and comparing notes. And then Jabari clapped back and said, the only person that belongs in a circus is you, boo. I think Demetria said, you're a real piece of work. Oh, no. This is Ashley. You're a real piece of work. I think at that point she was talking with Demetria. And then she bum rushes herself in between them. Ooh. Demetria's like, hold up. Don't touch the coat. At least if you're going to bump into me, let me take my coat off. All I got to say is next time, Mr. Carlton, make sure she ain't got no coat. Leave the coat at home. Because I need to see some furniture moving after the audacity of this girl acting like everybody's doing all this stuff to her over some dude whom you couldn't trust in the first place. And he was honest after being exposed. Bird. So then, Jabari gets a phone call. It's from an unknown caller. And Demetria, he says that he'll catch up with her later. Demetria leaves and he answers. And we find out that the person that's on the other end is Cabral. And he's asking, how did you get this number? And he says, don't worry about that. I just need you to remember, no matter how many ways you try to ignore me or block me, I will always find your ASS. And then we see right down the street that Cabral is following him. I said, stalker much? I thought it's quite crazy. Cabral really wants Raheem that don't want him. Only when it's convenient. And then you got this man who only had a one-night stand and is now stalking him. Can't leave him alone. What are the odds? Crazy. But anyways, that was the first week of the Love and Heartless. Stay tuned. Y'all better go over to Victory Productions Network and run up the numbers, run up the comments. If you can hype the video, hype it up. But yeah, it's messy, and that's what I love about it. I appreciate everyone for coming. Like, comment, subscribe. And until the next one, peace.